lots of news to cover today. Let's get into some news. Say Andrew Glickson article. Make my studio work. Here you go. Andrew Glickson article on the website, The Conversation. Not saying anything new, guys. At several points in the history of our planet. So the title is, While we fixate on coronavirus, each Earth is hurtling towards a catastrophe, or not a catastrophe, worse than the dinosaur extinction. At several points in the history of our planet, increasing amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere have caused extreme global warming, prompting the majority of species on Earth to die out. At several points in the history of our planet, increasing amounts of carbon dioxide, I just read this, in the past, these events were triggered by a huge volcanic eruption or asteroid impact. Now Earth is heading for another mass extinction, and human activity is to blame. I am an Earth and paleoclimate scientist and have researched the relationships between asteroid impacts, volcanism, climate change, and mass extinctions of species. My research suggests the current growth rate of carbon dioxide emissions is faster than those which triggered the two previous mass extinctions, including the event that wiped out the dinosaurs. That's not good. The world's gaze may be focused on COVID-19 right now, but the risks to nature from human-made global warming and the imperative to act remain clear. The next mass extinction has begun, if you're not clear on that. Current atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide are not yet at the levels seen 55 million and 65 million years ago, but the massive influx of carbon dioxide means the climate is changing faster than many plant and animal species can adapt. A major United Nations report released last year warned around 1 million animal and plant species were threatened with extinction. Climate change was listed as one of the 5 key drivers. The report said the distributions of 47% of land-based flightless mammals and almost 25% of threatened birds may have already been negatively affected by climate change. Many researchers fear the climate system is approaching a tipping point, or many tipping points, or has already reached some of those tipping points, said tipping points. Is loss of Arctic sea ice a tipping point, or is really, really close to losing all Arctic sea ice? Is that a tipping point? So, of course it's a tipping point when we have a blue ocean event, but, we're getting awful close, and it doesn't seem to be that there's anything other than, dumb luck, or randomness to keep us from experiencing a blue ocean event. So yeah, this will create a cascade of devastating effects. Of course, there are already signs tipping points have been reached. For example, rising Arctic temperatures have led to major ice melt and weakened the Arctic jet stream, a powerful band of westerly winds. Yeah. And here you go. That graph looks kind of like cases of COVID-19, right? If you look at the COVID-19 graphs, you see a graph that looks like this. So there you go. Yeah, I realized it was getting kind of slow there for a second. So yeah, I mean, this is Boiled Rope Lamppost says sunny 70 Fahrenheit in Gold Country, California. There you go. Had Valmer joining us from Oregon. Deb Van Poelen, hello. Please remember to like the video, guys. Thank you. Gene, how you doing? So this is not new news, right? Going south says triggering future loss of all sea ice way back in 1950 was the tipping point, right? So some people think the tipping point was actually going down this road. Starting the ball going down the road, or the ball running down the mountain, or the snowball gaining in mass and speed. Boiled Rope Lamppost, planes, traffic picking up, more haze. You know what, man? I'm going to talk about that at the end of this video if I have time. Yeah, I have internet issues today, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. It's not my garage door, please. It's not the garage door. It's partly that, but it doesn't really make sense that it would be so bad. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know if a wood door would help. I'm not really sure. However, people who are concerned about climate change should be glad for the coronavirus. It sounds weird to say, right? Not glad for death or illness, but for the removal of the veneer of normalcy. The veneer of normalcy was the biggest impediment to taking action on climate change. How could we possibly change? How could we possibly stop the march of the maw of capitalism on a dime? On a dime. Well, that's been exposed as a lie. We can stop. And we can stop without total chaos, right? Mass riots haven't broken out. You could say that there's some chaos in some places, but, the world hasn't fallen apart necessarily, or some semblance of a system or organization hasn't fallen apart. We've stopped much of our activity while keeping certain things going. And we can stop without total chaos if the powers that be tell us what's happening, right? That if they say, hey, this is a problem, a much, much bigger problem than coronavirus could ever possibly be. We can stop without total chaos if the powers that be tell us what's happening and take care of people during the transition. So, you get people to stop and you tell them that we're going to take care, we're going to make sure that you have money and food. How do we do this? We just print the money. It's not that hard. We just give people, money and food. It's not that hard. We give people health care. We give people what they need in order to, survive on some level. A Green New Deal should be, there is a Green New Deal, if ever there is one, a Green New Deal should be heavy on the compassion. Because how can we be compassionate towards the earth if we aren't compassionate to each other? And, for the most part, that's a serious problem. Some countries do compassion a lot better than the U.S. Some countries take care of their citizens on a much better and higher level than we do in the U.S. But, for the most part, if you look at industrial civilization, it's not high on compassion. We might be compassionate towards ourselves or our own people, but, we do that at the expense. We live how we live at the expense of other people. We live how we live at the expense of the planet and resources and people working for very little money every day to make those things that we like to buy. I've been thinking about the problem of humanism and human supremacy. You know, it's a tricky thing. Like I'm a humanist. I identify as a humanist, but I also see the problem with human supremacy. So there's a bit of a disconnect when we, you know, we want only good things for ourselves, and we can't extend that to the planet. But I think that that's a natural extension. I think that people who have a bigger capacity for compassion generally extend that to the rest of the planet. How well they do that, or how well they understand the ways in which we can do that better, that's another story. But of course, that's mostly about education. Compassion is compassion. We don't really extend compassion toward each other. We try in theory, but for the most part, we still kill and starve and oppress each other. We still can't stop killing black citizens of this country indiscriminately. We can't stop letting the poor fall through the cracks. We still can't stop letting corporations rob everyone blind. We still can't stop exploiting the rest of the world and its people to feed our gluttonous system. No wonder we see nature as ours to exploit. How can we stop that without extending our own abilities for compassion and care? In the end, the problem is us. It's always been us. If we're not going to get better, we're not going to do anything for the planet. So I'm still a fan of compassion and compassionate degrowth. If ever, or there was an answer, or if there is any answer to climate change, it is compassionate degrowth. You know, less so than, you know, we've been talking a lot about overpopulation, or even the conversation around overpopulation. I still think that's a conversation to be had, but the ultimate goal should be degrowth. Degrowth of our system, degrowth of our resource usage, degrowth of our consumption, or of our economies. We need to live with much, much, much less than we do. And lo and behold, here's the blueprint. The blueprint has been laid out for us. Now again, the problem is us. Now again, the problem is convincing people that this is the thing that must be done in the face of this problem. Hey guys, remember to like the video, make sure you're still subscribed, and you can support the channel at the links below: PayPal, Square, Patreon, etc. Thank you.